mic isn't muted like I usually have it on my first time.
Yay.
So, there's a little song I'd like to dedicate to my apocalypse, apocalypse, we caused it with our dumbness. Political love job, Joe.
The way it treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, I want to be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. But now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
Trump is once again threatening the annihilation of a country. Very late last night, Trump tweeted out in all capitals, quote, to Iranian President Rouhani, never ever threaten the United States again or you will suffer consequences, the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious.
Wow. You can take the crazy old man out of Queens, but you can't make him stop yelling at foreigners.
Good evening, Pedro.
¿Qué pasó? Buenas noches. Buenas tardes. Buenos días. Buenas mañanas. Now I'm getting my Rangers fucking mixed up trying to say the rest of that. Whatever it is. ¿Cómo se dice en español? Algunas tempranas? Whatever. Whatever it is, wherever you are, welcome back to the Lost Forgotten channel. Where I realized just in time that "que novo preço" is not Spanish. Yeah, that's a Gaelic Egyptian dialect. It's not Spanish.
Happens when you get to any languages. That happens to me sometimes.
Just used to know too many languages. I would dare not say that I know really any languages anymore. I struggle with English even.
By the way, sorry for starting out our intro song so high. I used to be soprano, although I'm not so much anymore. I try to. Habit that. Can't break the habit.
There it is.
I am not a Linkin Park song, so I'm not breaking the habit tonight.
So, whatever it is, wherever you are, welcome to Fake TV's The Lost Forgotten channel. I am your host, as always, Fake TV's The Actual Lost Forgotten. How about that shit? And, I wish I would have took away crappy webcam mode from the phone. I don't even know if I have the Logitech software installed on this shit anymore. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can make this better. I just changed the color of my head from everything. Oh look, jumping out the sun. Exposure. Auto. Back up. And it doesn't look like I'm in the fucking matrix as much anymore. Quite as much. Okay. So, sorry about that. I was hacked. Had to reset the whole fucking thing again. Got that down to like clockwork. Was gonna broadcast earlier today, but yeah, what the fuck is that? Where are pages?
God bless you.
Excuse me. Murphy's was telling me to mute the microphone while I blow my nose. Okay. Am I complaining my ears have popped? Yes. See, there's nothing wrong with your thing. You sounded just fine to me too.
Oh, y'all too kind.
What the hell was that saying? I don't even know. Oh yeah, so reset the whole thing. Was gonna live stream earlier, but it was just so ridiculously hot in this house, and had nobody in and out. So I've been on Twitter most of the day since the laptop was recovered. Didn't lose any files or anything. Beefed up my heuristics a little bit, went back to some older versions of some software, with cut out some other softwares. Figured out that USB quick charging wasn't there anymore. I was just hacking through it last night, so I have USB quick charging now.
USB connectors to charge.
Let's see if it works. Nope, it still does not work. And my wife's vape pen, she got off of eBay for $12 or whatever.
No, actually, that was $8.95.
$8.95.
And my giant thing of juice. That's all I've used. It's a beer.
Like,
That was
we were
$10.
expecting like a little, like maybe a quarter of this.
For
Well,
$10.
this is-
And it tastes good too because it's sour watermelon. But it has.
It's better. Don't let no young kids find stuff like that. And that shit. I mean, it looks
It's actually really hard to open, to be honest with you. Like, it took me a good 5 minutes
yeah,
to
but
figure it out.
still, you need to definitely explain the hard girl.
Oh, they know. I did. I explained to them. They know.
Parents beware of something like that. 'Cause, anyways. So, new people, feel free to say hello in the chats.
Yes. Oh, y'all have some great-
You know. Anyways. So, I won't pull up the website because actually I can. I have all a bunch of extensions blocked on from my browsing now. But there was a tweet that brought my attention to a Moscow Times story. I don't know if you remember the whole recent encounter with the patrol thing. You know, ring a bell? Yeah. Had a little bit of an incident with trolls recently.
A troll posing to be many. Sorry.
And I tried to tell him. When I attempted to explain the complete and radically different definition of power that I have from that which is human, especially a victim of the horror. All the while delighting in a storm that I have been sending, no matter who's upon myself. Broke a lot of records. You may have heard about it. The Great Flood, they were called. if it were something biblical. And I said, this isn't just a warning. This isn't just a sacrifice. This is a mechanism. And a poor little horde slave tried to get a sample. The very same sample that Moscow just had. You see, a massive flood, big storm, just swept the Moscow area. What a coincidence, right? The microphone seems to be low. Let's see if I can do something about that. Let's see here. Oh, Windows 10. How do I do that? Yeah, everybody's
Why can't I be using a computer like a computer instead of a cell phone? That's why I want to know.
There we go. How about that? Let's see here. I would like to set you to default. Okay.
So that sounds perfect now.
Beautiful. In fact, I might. Should I turn down the gain just a little bit?
And so now it sounds back to normal.
Yeah, sorry, I had the input wrong. It was back to default. Like I said, we're on a fresh new laptop. Nice and fast, too.
That's what she said.
I suppose, you know, tit for tat. Bunch of people dead in Russia. Thousands of homes and businesses flooded. And I lost my Wi-Fi connection.
Briefly.
For a whole 4 hours, maybe. If you count reconfiguration. This is a fine laptop. It is a splendid laptop. And thank you to Moses Yeltsin for giving me all my viewers. It's so nice that, you know, he has that much control over all you guys.
Right?
I guess if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the laptop either. Yeah.
It's just sad.
Okay. So, stuff is back. Back again.
Stuff is back.
Trolls on crack. Tell a friend.
Ah!
Hey. Well, let me just, so useless. I guess I should have, should have put that there too. I've given myself a couple little extra things I've remembered and figured out how to do on Windows 10.
Have a few things Windows 10 allows you to do.
And let's see here. Need to find. Where was it? Well, damn. Alright, until I figure out how to do that. I was just at that fucking setting earlier. I don't know why you have to go to so many different places to find the same group of fucking settings on Windows 10. It's so annoying.
There's a way you just like bookmark the setting to the desktop that would make it easier. I would think, anyway. I'm not that computer savvy, but I tried.
I got my run command, I got my command prompt. Yep. Not too easy to make changes when there's no logon options for you. gonna take time, a whole lot of precious time. It's gonna take an annoyingly long time
Do it right, Jimmy.
to worm it right.
Great, now that song's gonna be stuck in my head for God knows how long.
That was one of our songs when we were little.
I wonder.
Yeah. My little fairy goddess friend and I. The reason which I always said that when I talked to Wiccans, especially people who would be open to this kind of thing, I would tell them that the reason why I knew so much about animals is because I think there was an incarnation of Mother Nature herself that taught me when I was little. She was kind of like my imaginary friend. She's real. But what an odd song to sing. All things considered. It's gonna take money, a whole lot of spending money. It's gonna take patience and money. Mountains of money. Heaping handfuls of butter-coated money. Now, I apologize that I frequently refer to heaping handfuls of butter. If you are not a former MST 3000 viewer, yeah. I'm like, wait, isn't there supposed to be a K in there? No, that's the 1000, dumbass. Okay, Mystery Science Theater 3000. There was a particular movie where, I don't know what kind of drugs I was on at the time when I saw it, but a bunch of friends of mine were watching, and they kept referring to heaping handfuls of butter. And it just kind of stuck with me, and I apologize. And it's one of them things that only if you've seen that one episode of that show would you possibly get the joke. Or just, have an appreciation for the squishy feeling of a handful of butter. Okay, anyway. So my legs are getting stiff and my foot's falling asleep because I am a kitten bed right now.
She doesn't want to stay with me.
She's just, So, some things have been afoot. I guess we should go into reporting on, now that the microphone is fixed and all. I do apologize for the muffled sound in the beginning. Like I said, the computer had finally been hacked completely once again.
Hacked again.
For my lovely friends at the FBI, the ones who do their jobs. Just teasing, I'm just teasing.
The ones that are about to get their security clearances revoked.
I'm being strategic. I'm teasing. Oh look, now the Russians are hacking me to see if they can see the FBI watching me. Even though I explained to them that they would never possibly be able to detect their methods. Anyway. Let me not get off on the wrong track here. Oh. Oh, interesting emulation. It's funny how bioelectrostatic feedback can be generated from most internet-enabled devices these days. Also rather useful. Goodbye. I went to 3 for a second there. Back to 2. Anyways. So what was I going to say? Let me figure out what I was going to say before that measurable level of interference just occurred. So I was going to directly tell my friends at the FBI something. And then I got sidetracked, and then the little Russian hacking occurred. Heuristics went up, and then I sensed that they had their little bioelectrostatic emulator feedback thing going. So I kind of overloaded it. And then his computer shut down. He'll be up in a couple minutes.
Well, I guess I should take the nice silent opportunity to go ahead and give an update on my condition, since I never got around to doing another video after I got the results of my clean MRI scan. After those came out, hang on one second. So after those scans came back all clear, I got sent back to my my eye doctor specialist, who then sent me to another specialist in another town for who finally diagnosed me with having a very rare eye disease that is slowly causing me to go blind.
Now we got an all-expenses-paid trip to Houston.
Right? To go see another specialist who apparently will probably know more than my doctor, who was very frustrated that he can't do anything for me. Seeing as how...
That's a 4-hour drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, seeing how this this disease was only first documented in 1993, it's very rare, not a whole lot of people have it. So there's not been a whole lot of study and testing done. They do not know what causes it, and they do not know how to treat it.
But they're very interested in learning more about it.
Right.
But, you know.
And actively trying to find employment while all this going on is challenging.
This is one of those things, I think, personally, that it's related to cell phone usage, and it's something, it's like a combination of factors that's going to continue to show up in humans. So, being, you know, contributing to the research now is going to be probably going to help a lot more people in the future. Like, the rate of this is probably going to increase.
Which is why I agreed to do it. Because if I need to be a guinea pig so that they can learn more, maybe find something that works. Because this is scary, like, having to adjust to not being able to see very well.
At different rates, too. It's like, some days you can, it's worse than others. Sometimes it's worse than others.
The big, deep contrast of light, like, going outside at night, driving, like, I don't drive anymore, hardly, at all. I've done all but given that up. At night, when I'm in the car, I have to have sunglasses on because the headlights mess with me. Was sitting out with the neighbors the other night, and the candlelight because it was so dark. The candlelight sitting on the table in front of me on the citronella candle was so bright I had to put something in front of it so it wouldn't mess with my eyes. Sucks. And my depth perception is even worse. Yeah, I'm walking into things, it's great. But anyway, so that's my little update.
Well, I'm still trying to remember what the fuck I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's something I was trying to give myself time while you were speaking to remember, and I still didn't manage to fucking remember. But boy, I think I'm just gonna sit here and try to fucking fill airtime with ambient babbling while I squeeze my brain. It's not working. Let's see here. It was such a brilliant little tidbit too. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me.
It's been a surprisingly long day.
Yeah.
For some reason. But I still have yet to figure out.
I've certainly had a lot of mental exercise today. Because while I'm trying to save the Louisiana coastline, I'm also trying to save the Great Barrier Reef. And, you know, the entire Indo-Pacific that the Chinese seem to want to fuck up. Anyways, oh yes, so to the Chinese. In fact, to this entire Southeast Asian region.
Thanks, Pager. Took me a minute to see. I'm having trouble seeing.
I am not going to be the cause of the famine you are about to face. However, withdrawing this ridiculous claim that's causing you to build these islands in the sea named after a royal dynasty that you are not the inheritors of, that is in no way representative of your nation as it currently sits. Stop bullshitting yourself and calling it the China Sea so it belongs to China. You sound like a bunch of morons. Surely you should have more pride in your intelligence than that. When did the Chinese lose their honor? Because this ridiculous thing that Russians had you doing, that the Horde has you doing, that the bane of your existence has you doing, is going to cause a famine, the likes of which this world has never seen. And my dear children in China, I must ask you to undo the destruction that you have caused to the life stream of this world. Understand this. Where they are building these islands is the most crucial place on the planet not to build islands. The devil has you doing this. There is no other passageway through which water flows that provides more assistance to the abundance of Pacific and Indian Ocean life. And you are obstructing it as if it were a filter for you to clog on purpose. Now, the Chinese have become some of the most wonderfully innovative and intuitive marine aquarists. And I suggest that the Chinese government go and ask those marine aquarists what they think of those islands. And by the way, the Chinese are always watching this channel. The fact that the stars of their flag are on my wife's arm it was found a little bit intriguing, considering some ancient stories that they have. But anyways, still don't remember the thing I wanted to tell the FBI. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things I would like to make sure that they're aware of. But there was just this one little thing. It's pissing me off.
Have anything to do with security clearance then?
No.
Control. Your
I'm
laptop
thinking.
being...
Yeah, I know. It's gotta be something along that. I know, you're right, but... oh. Yeah. Can't remember what picture that was. Don't fucking think it was relevant, though. Good call, though. I'm just gonna like play a news clip. Oh, not the whole nightly news broadcast.
Sorry. That when Morso left that video, it was circling around Facebook. So funny.
What happened?
There's like some kind of thing that makes the fart sound and lets off like a nasty smell. Like, remember how stink bombs were back in the day, but this isn't like a bomb, it's like something else. And so she lets it go in the car while her dad's eating, and he turns around and looks at her and asks her if she shit her pants. Or he, or whatever the kid, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl. But it was freaking hilarious. I died. They're like, oh my god, did you shit yourself? That's great. Oh yeah, that was great too.
And Kirkpatrick, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Tell us why you do support ICE.
Good morning. I'm actually here to speak directly to Donald Trump. I feel that what's happening at the border is wrong. I'm a mother of 4, and I believe that separating kids from their parents is illegal and inhumane. I'm actually Barbara L'Italian. I'm a state senator representing a large immigrant community and running for Congress in Massachusetts.
Oops.
Again, my name is Barbara L'Italian, and I refuse to believe that our only options are open borders or chronic.
Okay. All right.
Let's move forward
That didn't go as
for a
planned.
second. So,
Faceless.
Well, isn't that fucking special? And I am thinking of a million different fucking things. And I want to make sure the FBI knows. And I'm just not thinking that one thing. Oh.
Epic brain fart.
Oh. Look who's back up around. So let's just go over some events. Maybe it'll jog my memory. Of course, we have the stable genius tweet. Which is just a fascinating little temper tantrum to have been thrown on Twitter. See the whole idea, and I will after a little bit of rearrangement here, get some pictures up here. Let's see. Fuck. There's one I haven't even looked in for a while. Okay. There's channel icons. Channel icons. Oh, channel icons. don't make me have to press the C key.
I'm not even going to attempt to help you. Sorry.
Good God. I can't see it. Okay. Reaching. C. Not really useful. What the fuck is going on? Oh, it's over there. I already moved it. It's just further in the corner than I wanted it. Okay. Nothing wrong with me. Wrong with me. Oh, look. The kitten's back on top of me. Yay. Okay.
Oh.
So there's this little thing that no, that's not it. It kind of looks like it. Is that it? There we go. That's the one. And now, while this is not the thing I wanted to talk to the FBI about, this reminds me of something I want to talk to the FBI about. And I even remember to lead up to the thought. But this is not the thought. I don't know if the FBI is even able to see me on Twitter. That's a little bit disturbing. And I'm talking about the guy who manages the FBI's Twitter account. I'm not talking about, the FBI as a whole. But the fact that they have that much sway over Twitter, or even might have that much sway over Twitter, it's a little bit disturbing. But you see, the thing is, our country is being torn apart because of one simple thing that can be fixed easily in a bipartisan way that is also in accordance with the Constitution and your oath of office. And in fact, the quote-unquote order or mandate that implies that you should not do this goes against the Constitution and your oath to uphold and defend it. Russia has historically been of crucial logistical support to terrorism. This is something that is commonly known in the intelligence community. commonly known. It's not even a need-to-know thing. What's need to know is why we don't talk about it. And a lot of people are left with their theories. Well, it's quite simple. It's out of a desire for peace. It's out of that same optimism that people who thought Hillary Clinton would be able to win the election had. That same kind of optimism I've tried my best to share and help build up. Overruled. Democracy itself. Overruled. And the main reason why is, in the words of this fucking troll, what was it, just last night? Night before? Whatever. I can't remember. These poor, confused Fox News viewers have been led to believe that Russia is the savior of the white race. I've been saying it for how long now? And not just white people. They used to tell it to black nationalist movements. They've told it to Islamist revolutionaries. They sure as shit didn't leave out the Irish Republican Army. And there's just something about the Seventh-day Adventist cult that they can't seem to resist. And I don't just mean their large denomination. I mean the actual cults that get sown all over the world. But because we desire peace, and because our infiltrators are all too happy to go along with that seemingly rational argument, we continue to keep Americans in the dark about something that is crucial to our citizenry. Understanding the basics of the world that we live in has been denied to us by our federal government. And it ties back to the mandate for the Warren Commission itself. The Russian mafia assassinated an American president. And this is what they've been doing ever since. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Gaddafi's been in power for a good long time, since 76, was it? And was smuggling weapons and explosives as far back as 1978 to multiple international terrorist groups. Isn't that special? Doesn't that sound like the savior of the white race to you? It's fucking amazing to me. See, we don't need to tell people. Yeah, just like Hitler saved Germany.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. You can't really say Hitler without an AI snooping you. It's fucking incredible. Oh. Like, I just need to be president for a day so I could just have my little checklist and be like, okay, you're doing this, you know about this, this. But on here, and even in the presence of any mobile device, I am always so very cautious and calculated with what I say. I really don't want to give our enemies a strategic advantage by, you know, expressing any of my more advanced strategic analysis, especially when it comes to technology. But anyways, So for years, and years and years and years, Russia has been supporting international terrorism. Now the thing is, it's an awfully big provocation. You know, you're a warmonger even if you simply tell the truth about Russia.
Or a liberal who wants war.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We're a liberal warmonger. Yeah, that's not a fucking oxymoron.
Right. Just recap from yesterday, in case anybody knows.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here claiming to be a pacifist or a liberal.
Right.
I have some liberal values and I have some pacifist values. I still consider myself what a proper conservative should be. Except for the fact that I have a potty mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Neighbors,
that's because I'm from the streets, yo.
The neighbor's mom is visiting, and we all rode to the store together the other day, and I dropped the F-bomb in the car, and I had to hurry up and turn around and explain that I did not have a good upbringing, and I apologized for my sailor-like language, and I had her laughing for 30 minutes about that.
Oh yeah, the Democrats are being accused of being warmongers. Remember, just like our good Russian troll friend, and that's something that the FBI should take note of, that the Russian trolls were calling me a warmonger and calling people who supported Ukraine warmongers for saying that Russia was invading shit and, you know, propagandizing people and doing what they're doing. So for telling the truth, we're warmongers, you know?
Yay!
Now, we've accused them of hacking, we've accused them of international sabotage, thievery, annexing property that doesn't belong to them, annexing a former nation state called Crimea that was part of a currently internationally recognized country, a sovereign land called Ukraine.
Don't forget the poisoning of the ex-Russian spy.
They've been poisoning, you know, we call them out on all this shit. We need to basically update our people. The FBI has the responsibility of updating Congress in a public way that forces them to bring media attention to it. That Russia has been in full support of Islamic jihadism throughout the duration of the war on terrorism, and that the United States made a serious error in judgment in trusting them to help combat it. Do you even think about what a bunch of fools we look like on the international stage?
The world is laughing at us.
And I'm talking about, no, before even Trump took office. How the fuck do you think the Germans could even take us seriously? Oh, and the Dutch? Oh my God. Like, how do you think sophisticated, informed people were taking us during the Obama administration when we had a perfectly reasonable president?
We had no scandals.
With a sound strategic mind who was willing to listen to all forms of reason, was willing to take the intelligence professionals at their word, and I must say, they're really good at not blowing anybody's cover. And we are sitting here even after the Europeans woke up, even after the Maidan. The Republicans in Congress were acting as though Russia was our fucking friend, constantly quoting Russian propaganda. And only standing up to Russia when it came to one of those kinds of votes that could be used against them in a campaign ad.
Can I just mention what you forgot to say, that not only did Russia annex Crimea, but there's still fighting going on in Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
For anybody who's not keeping up with that sort of thing. There are still thousands.
Ukraine has just become a playground for Russian mercenaries, man. But see, even if you look at me pre-2011 and Obama pre-2011, every reasonable person pre-2011, nobody thought at that point that Russia was really a threat. Nobody had really connected the fucking dots yet. The deep in the know level of the intelligence community started figuring it out in about 2007. It was all but confirmed, but not comprehended, in 2009. Then from 2011 to 2013, there was a lot of just-in-casing. Preparations. Preparation H, Preparation R, Preparation... the whole fucking alphabet of preparations. Every hole you could put it on. What? Security hole. Get your mind out of the gutter. Or get my mind out of the gutter. Or, kitten, it's all your fault. Oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. So anyway, yeah, I've said that for years. Russia was secretly weaponizing the internet, but as I've also said, America has been well ahead of them for a very long time. And basically coming very far from showing their hand, even still. But the point is, I need more coffee. You got basically two choices. Okay. And I'm not talking about, you know, some very serious things that also need to be done. This is just the basic, the truth will set you free type of thing. This is no lawsuit, no course of action that can have any repercussions. In fact, the more controversial it becomes, the more people are going to wake up to the bare minimum fact that they have been deceived. And the FBI, Congressional Research Service, should be together on this in basically issuing a statement that it was not the intention of the American government to deceive its people, but that we we're trying not to draw conclusions in the pursuit of peace. And they have the opportunity to fall on 2016 as a crutch of blamelessness and say that we did not realize this to be an organized effort and considered to be the part of rogue elements within the Russian Federation prior to the coordinated analysis that was done between the time that Russia invaded Ukraine and they attacked our elections. Such strategic analysis should not be made shorthand, so it could not have been released until now. But the American people need to understand, Russia is not our friend. They have not been our friend. And if there is anyone delusional enough to think that they are going to be somehow the savior of Christianity or the white race, they need to get it through their head right now that this is not the case. All it takes to understand that this is not the case is a brief lesson in modern history. That's all you need to say. They should issue a report on non-sensitive historical cases of Russia's support for cult movements, for separatist movements, for multiple cultural extremist movements, and at the end of this document, it should make a plea directly to the American people and to our members of Congress. Hint, hint, you don't want to go to jail. Please do not allow yourself to be propagandized by any extremist element. These divisive groups come in all forms and take up the mantle of all issues, but they do not serve progress or the interests of the United States. And then it needs to state clearly that because of the USA Patriot Act and several other laws passed by Congress, any cooperative effort on the part of an American citizen to, what do they call it, radicalize their fellow citizens on the behalf of the Russian government is guilty of an act of treason against the United States of America. It is not necessary to declare a war for enemy actions to be considered hostile when they are hostile. And in joining in hostile actions aimed at the United States of America, you become a traitor and will be prosecuted as such. What a lovely idea.
Yeah, it's a damn shame that treason
I hope they get
is...
it done.
It's a damn shame that treason's not punishable by death anymore.
Well, sure it is.
Is it really? That's
when according to the mandate of the executive branch, if someone in the executive branch is guilty of treason, their fate and punishment is to be decided.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting, isn't it? Being drawn and quartered isn't even out of the question legally. Okay? It's just been a while. Besides, with that fat fuck, I'd feel sorry for the horses. Even trying to look a quarter of his ass around.
You need oxen.
Yeah. Need a tray to bring us some of the fucking purple buffalo. So anyways, the other thing that, and this is still not a, I'll let you know. I will get really excited if I think of the thing, okay? It's just another thing, okay? That our government needs to do is, find somebody, I don't know who, and maybe pay them as a consultant. That maybe proves them to not be a bunch of naive little schoolgirls. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I teasing again? I'm teasing again. FBI, you have some wonderful toys, but you are a bunch of naive little schoolgirls. And here's why. You don't have someone that can think on their level. If there was any spy that turned and you think they're giving you all the information, if they had all the information, they would not be alive to tell you.
Just saying.
Just saying. So what the FBI lacks is someone who can think on the same level as their enemy. And what they've been kept in the dark from is quite plain, but so hard to accept. You see, the greatest trick the devil ever did
Bless you.
Was make me sneeze. No. Yes, what she said was convince the world, that he did not exist. And if you're a Christian, you might be in denial. You might think, oh, I believe the devil exists. And you're picturing him with his pitchfork, and he's all underground, and there's like stalactites and shit.
Give that a lot of thought, huh?
Oh, yeah.
How's my pen doing?
I'm not sure what cartoon I'm picturing, but it's fucking hilarious.
Futurama?
Yes!
I know what episode you're talking about, too.
Or South Park. No, Futurama.
No, it's Futurama. It's that
now I'm mixing them together.
It's that
yes,
episode
with the
where
hand.
the professor does the time traveling machine, and they go too far in time. How's my pen doing?
Oh.
Oh.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm checking my
She looks like a scientist.
I'm checking the level of my oils. Huh. Make fun of me.
I think I got cut off in the middle of a thought again. Oh, wait. Muting. Blow my nose. Hoy! Ah, my ear. Ah. Whoa. Dude. Spacey. So, moving on, or backtracking a little or something. The fact that the FBI doesn't have, like, their own version of Alex Jones is a real lacking problem. And they don't have nearly the same level of corporate influence. Big problem too. But excuse me. The biggest problem, by far, is the lack of emphasis on what it means that they do this. The government hasn't just violated free speech or the right to make an informed decision at the voting booth by denying Americans information about their ancient info that is mentioned in the Bible itself. You, the federal government, have not only committed an act of religious persecution, but have violated the principle of separation of church and state. You haven't just enabled persecution. You haven't just allowed persecution of true, proper Christian faith to become monetizable, but by keeping crucial truth necessary for the defense of Christian rationale, you have assisted a dishonest and illegitimate withdrawal from faith as a whole in this country. It is a considerably difficult to grasp act of persecution and religious intolerance, and combining, basically the FBI with Satanism. So it's okay to, complain about God, but when it comes to lying to cover up the army of Satan, you see, the FBI has been tricked into doing what the Satanists want. Now, understand this. Keeping information about the historical influence of the Soviet Union and the GRU efforts that have succeeded them is tantamount to rigging an election for the Satanists. It's like, it's like stealing the Christians' emails and letting the Russians read them, but not even letting the Christians read them. You've given credence to a concerted effort to tear down the fabric of this country, and the national security backbone of this country has historically been Christians. So they have basically tricked you into giving weaponry via not just a mission of truth, but silence taken as fact and use that to completely decimate not only the Christian church itself, but the actual ideals behind the Christian church that were the essence of human culture at one point, but of American culture. Which, by the way, there's not even get into that with the whole human culture being the thing that's actually at stake here. To me, there are obviously older races than mankind at play, and they're playing for keeps, as in ownership. But like I said, you're thinking of the devil. As somebody with horns and a trident. And that greatest trick that the devil ever did of convincing the world that he didn't exist includes deception of his existence. If you don't understand the manner of existence, of his existence, then you just believe in a fucking fictional fairy tale character. You don't believe the devil actually exists. Because on the level that you believe he exists, if you think he's sitting there in hell in some separate dimension or something, kind of hard for you to even feel like he could affect you. And what the FBI and our federal government has inadvertently done by keeping this great secret from us, they have been the tool that the devil used to conceal himself. You see, good and evil are very real things. And evil has no skin color, not even red. And no effort has been made to correct any of the traceable, propagandized misgivings that have deluded the various American churches. None at all. But this is not a fantasy world that we live in. And intellectual arguments about what happened in the past are not all that's at stake here. You can't sit there and say that belief in this book is a novelty when you've based that judgment upon the actions of people who don't even fucking read it much. You see, it's not a novelty. It's a true story. It is, in fact, the most well-correlated historical document that mankind possesses. And the truth of it, that bears relevance. That perpetuates Christianity, the backbone of American soldiery. The part of reality that allows people to understand how that book bears relevance in their lives has been kept from the American people's view in accordance with the Warren Commission mandate. Or something. There's something. There's something, some fucking reason. I mean, it doesn't seem like the mandate document that Congress fucking passed, that one guy authored, that said we didn't want to provoke Russia, should still be affecting the United States government's ability to keep its public informed. But what the FBI really needs to know is that the decision-making process that is causing you to keep this a secret is tainted. You are being told from the inside, and have been for years, to obstruct justice and to perform actions contrary to your constitutional duties. There is a taint in our intelligence community. And it's sure as fuck not the people who oppose Trump. And they need to realize, they need to be held to account. They need to be argued with and overruled by proper understanding of the effects that, I mean, just catastrophic, detrimental effects that these actions have had on our national security, historically and presently. And how these actions are, in fact, violations of free speech, of freedom of religion, and violations, first and foremost, of separation of church and state. You cannot have a government withholding information that decides the fate of a major religion, or any religion for that matter. Especially not the religion that this nation once depended on for its survival. Now, for anybody who has fallen for the straw man and accepts that Christians and Fox News viewers are somehow the same people, they're not. And you don't give Christianity itself or this nation enough credit unless you remember what it was like to be in church in the 80s and early 90s. Man, there were churches full of white people adopting all kinds of immigrants. Letting Muslims live in their houses, letting Haitians live in their houses, letting Koreans live in their houses. People were going all over the world. Christians were going all over the world, feeding the hungry, building houses for the poor. But in this country, even in the 80s, the slow creeping rise of fascism had already begun. And just at the point when church membership had begun to be a positive effect on the rate of police brutality, for instance, in this country, then there came along a little thing called talk radio and a guy named Rush Limbaugh. And while the FBI is all too happy to keep Christians from knowing the truth that would allow them to actually be Christians, what our federal government has kept from us, it's just perfectly fine for it to obstruct and even demolish Christianity. But when it comes to obviously satanic behavior, they're not willing to judge them by their works, as it were. We should have seen this shit coming a long time ago. We should have been keeping tabs on the ongoing efforts of the Confederacy forever, you know, since there was one. I mean, these fucking people raised armies against the federal government of the United States. These are their begotten. These are their children, even. And we have taken it for granted that they aren't a threat somehow. All the while, this one seed started to build, just fester. And it was perfectly targeted, because think about talk radio. Think about who listens to it. You got your truckers, and you know, who needs them in a good mood, right? And speaking of moods being important, police officers. Police officers sit waiting on a call, patrolling, driving to a call. If they're not listening to the radio communications, they're listening to Waltman Johnson or fucking Rush Limbaugh.
I actually think Waltman Johnson was funny.
Right?
And then they got political.
Yeah, and then Obama came along, and it all became clear what their agenda was.
Right.
Oh yeah, they use a wideband long waveform radio.
Hey, Lacey. Hey, Sean.
Yes, hi Sean, hi Lacey. But you know, it is the responsibility of the Congressional Research Service, of the Library of Congress, to issue reports that keep the American people informed, okay, not just the Congress, not just, you know, give us only the information that suits our agenda, okay. And I believe personally that when it comes to matters of national security on an international level or national security according to domestic threats, that it should be the CIA and FBI respectively who coordinate with the Congressional Research Service and the Library of Congress to make sure that this information is released to the public, to make sure that analysis overall of investigations is published. They don't have to give details of the investigations, they don't have to give sources of methods, but they need to state unequivocally that this type of behavior is sponsored by enemies of the United States of America, and that anyone engaged in these types of behaviors should know that they are not serving America's best interest. And nobody can tell me that when Rush Limbaugh in the fucking late 80s and early 90s just started pumping vitriol and hatred and judgment of the poor, of the sick, of the needy, migrant, huddled masses. That animosity flared up, built up, festered, and caused things like Rodney King, or should I say, all the undocumented fucking police beatings that Rodney King exposed. I mean, you got that many look, once there is a cop per limb, there should be no more physical blows. Right?
Yep.
Like a mental patient. Okay? Mental patient don't quit. They just keep flailing the fuck around with all their, you know, strength. Which, I don't know if you realize this, but mental patients can sometimes have insane levels of strength. Just willing to fucking sprain their own muscles just to get a power advantage. You don't ever see the fucking orderlies or whatever they call those people. Unnecessarily hitting, or hitting at all, fucking mental patients. No. 4 big guys, each grab a fucking limb, and then a nice lady comes along and goes, tss. And the mental patient goes, yeah. You know, back in the fucking early 90s, or maybe it was the 80s, I had an uncle who gave me a tranquilizer gun. It looked like a Beretta. Full handgun looking, shot fucking tranquilizer. It shot darts, man. It was cool. It was CO2 powered, I believe. I'm just thinking to myself, you know, they're fucking risking giving people heart attacks. Right. Tasers, you know, just fucking shoot them with a tranquilizer dart. Shoot them in the ass with it. You know? But there's just no excuse for it, like, okay, 2 male officers and a girl, or 4 male officers and any size man. Any size man, especially a man that's about their size or smaller. You know? There's no excuse for any fucking battery. It's just fucking appalling. And there's no amount of training, there's no amount of therapy or you know, suspension, or what do they call it? Relief from duty. Time off of active duty for retraining or whatever. No, none of that shit's gonna do any good. When you have enemy state TV and enemy state radio being pumped into these people's heads for the sole purpose of inducing fucking hypertension. Okay? Of inducing rage. Of inducing post-traumatic stress disorder. You see, what causes someone to lose control is false judgment. When someone, especially a police officer, reaches a state of false judgment, they consider otherwise preposterous actions to be perfectly justified.
Ole.
Take it easy, Mr. Conway.
Later, Sean. Have a good day at work.
Yeah, as far as being able to sprain a muscle just to instantly overpower someone, that is definitely a skill I've had since I was very young. I might one day show some training methods I developed along those lines. But if you got a friend who can do it, you might want to ask him. There are ways to get sort of an intermediate capability that your body can tolerate better as you get older. That's worth knowing. But anyways, you see, It's not just the Fox News viewer that needs this information. Okay? It's not just the religious persecution side of it and that very nuanced argument that can be made. Okay? There's a real deal happening here. Okay? It's called divide and conquer. And what you need to bear in mind are the people who the Christians were losing these arguments to, losing these hearts and minds to. That this right-wing, neo-fascist, neo-Nazi movement was allowed to take over the church while those who were busy trying to defend the church as a principle, defend faith as a principle, defend belief itself, constantly, you know, because of all the fucking religious persecution in this country. The people that were doing that, because the FBI, because the government wasn't keeping us informed, were serving a tandem agenda. Those people who were attacking the backbone of our national security morale were also attacking the very right of this government to defend itself. And as people were drawn away from the church, they were also drawn away from the government, drawn away from belief in our society, drawn away from capitalism, drawn away from democracy, and drawn towards socialism. Now, understand that the naive mind hears about socialism and can be caught up in it quite idealistically. But socialism is how a democracy turns into a monarchy. Because when the people have to rely solely on the government, that government can be led astray at the very, to say the very least. But if the government can be controlled by a foreign power, or by someone who's assisted by a foreign power, and again, we're back to the lack of understanding of historical context of how the fucking Russians kind of behave, It's not just that a ruler might emerge. It's not just like, oh no, we don't want to allow these things, and then just keep an eye out, and then hope, nobody will come along and take advantage of it, and then own the fucking people, basically. It's about a recognition of that there is an empire that has always existed, who will make sure that that happens. And we, America, are not even immune to it, as was clearly demonstrated to us in 2016. This image right here, I just keep using it for talking about the anti-national security left. Not just the anti-war left, the anti-national security left. Because when it comes to being led away from proper Christianity, whether it's being led into hatred of people who are not like you, or whether it's being led into thinking that those people are somehow in charge of the United States government and in control of everything, and that we need some sort of a people's revolution to overcome them. Both of those agendas, both of those siphonings from centrism, from true Christianity, from true faith in general, they are caused by the same terrorist-supporting enemy of the United States of America. And these issues, this coordinated infiltration of our society that has resulted in massive religious persecution, is a clear and present danger to the United States. Just as those who propagandize right-wing nationalist groups and deprogram civics lessons from our fucking police officers are also clear and present dangers to the United States. And we need to understand that telling the truth is telling the truth. But when it comes to keeping a secret, you are picking and choosing the winners of spiritual warfare. You are picking and choosing faith. You are failing the standard of separation of church and state. And the sad part is, the simple fact is, you just got tricked by Satanists into doing the devil's bidding. Convincing the world that he does not exist. For it is in the Bible that it says that Cain goes to the land of Nod. And that it was the sons of Cain who settled north of everyone in the Bible. And in the end of the Bible, this place is to be referred to as Gog and Magog, and we know where these places are. And despite what people who have obviously been proven to be fucking shills have said, yes, it is in Russia. And we have complete historical proof and even genetic proof of this. Like, did you ever wonder why the Russian people and the Polish people kind of look like Jews? It's because the fucking Jews that escaped from Khazaria settled in Poland at the same time the retiring Roman officers were settling that land. So you have a perfect mixture of Jews who found freedom with retired Ephraimite and Benjaminite and Manassite tribes. I mean, it's, you know, it's just more stuff that's in the Bible that's completely provable by science. But because it's relative to our understanding of Russia, relative to our historians and scholars' intellectual understanding of history and Christianity's place in it, there has been a concerted effort to hide that truth. It's not something that's talked about, and because we don't talk about it, because we haven't like figured it out and documented it and said, hey, this is the case, there have been studies and you know, documentaries and reports and papers and even doctoral thesi that have been used by people like that to tear down faith. But while it is perfectly acceptable to create documentation that is used in the persecution of faith, somehow creating documentation about real-world events that in no way can be realistically construed as participation in a religion by a state agency has not been available to the intellectual, philosophical theologians and scholars of Christianity, to the people who have been trying to defend it for years. A lot of people in the Morris family. The reason why my Uncle Henry lost the debate that is still on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, Dr. Henry Morris debate, in which it was basically decided in a wave by Christians that it was okay to teach evolution in schools. Dr. Henry Morris did not have the information available to him. Dr. Henry Morris did not have a relevant historical context to the Bible available to him, because he did not have the necessary data to make the correlation between the real world and the Bible. And case by case, this has happened over and over again. There have been 1,000 arguments a day lost in high schoolers, even in middle school. People choosing to abandon the faith of their parents because of things that they were told were facts and no other facts were presented to them. No facts that could have built their faith and kept it strong and made them see, most importantly, the wolves in sheep's clothing among them. That was all kept from them. That was all not allowed. For national security reasons. For what? Because we didn't want to provoke Russia? That's it. We've been tricked by infiltrators on the inside through pseudo-intellectual and straw man arguments to have a government that persecutes its own citizens and that suppresses its own foundational religion. Well, okay. You have a series of compilations starting with the patriarchs or the Peterites and the Paulsians all deciding to unify during the series of ecumenical councils. Then you have the destruction of the Southern faith outright. Every last trace of it fucking annihilated. And let me go ahead and just bring up a map for new viewers or anyone who'd like some more informed historical understanding of this. This is how Christianity began in these areas, and in fact even more in this area. Where's the maps? Where's the maps? Maps, 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 maps. Maps. Alright. Come on, folder. There we go. Okay. Now, by the time of the Catholic Church, Byzantium had fallen to the Seleucids, and in Byzantium there is, the remnants of that is still in the Ukrainian Orthodox and other Orthodox churches, Greek and Russian Orthodox, where they have some additional context, including the fact that the proper birthday of Christ is January the 7th. So then you have that little bit, even as increased as their patriarchy was because of their proximity to Khazaria and to the caliphates and khanates, there was still that extra trace of truth that survived through them. But by this point, you see at the bottom of the map all of the lands that were the pure parts of Christianity had been overtaken by the caliphates. So then you continue through the next several hundred years. The horde expands west. East. Excuse me, east. And you have the time of the Great Khan. Around 1200 AD. During this time period, concessions of the Hindus and the Buddhists were made, in which they volunteered to limit their knowledge and conform their teachings for their survival. And then, during the time of our present compilation of Scripture, known as the King James Bible, it was during this time period that Spain had become, digressed into one of the first right-wing Christian hellholes there ever was, which eventually, of course, caused it to have a total communist revolution. Well, not total, but, telling Spanish modern history is, just a whole different task unto itself, isn't it? But, just write them off as far as being a part of Europe at that point, other than militarily allied, And the cities of Vienna and Nuremberg were sacked. Nuremberg was obliterated. Vienna was almost nearly wiped off the map. Both cities to be rebuilt, obviously. One to be re-obliterated. Nuremberg. But it was in 1563 to 65, I believe. But beginning in 1560, it's worth Googling. It's worth searching for to find the actual dates, because I'm getting it a little fuzzy right now, even though I should know it. A couple of years ago on a video, I had it instantly recallable, but it's been a while since I reviewed this data, so getting it a little fuzzy with other relevant dates. Like, for instance, the sack of Vienna, 1561. Okay, that was all right after this map right here. Right as Kievan Rus and what was left of Orthodoxy was being overtaken through false friendship, through false alliance, through a big fucking setup with Moscow. And it was after this period that our current compilation, the King James Bible, was made. And let me just say this. Isn't it a testament to God's power that there should still be so much truth left in this book, despite all of those odds? Imagine the time that those people were living in. Imagine the terror. Imagine the stress they were under. This army had been overtaking Europe in every stage of their history books. And what might have even been a bargain with the devil for a last chance to save Europe, it might have been self-inflicted. Those who seek to save their lives will lose them. And that's what they did. What was left of the proper scrolls were hidden by the Catholic Church. That is known. Why? Because they're assholes? Because they're the great Satan? Probably not. It's because fear is the mind killer. You see, the truth that's left in here is shrouded by mystery. It took a form that these people at that time could not even understand. But what it did do was enable chauvinism, acknowledge chauvinism, suppress women in accordance with the will of the horde. See, as long as we don't have feminine, as long as we persecute the feminine, we will be unable to reason as a group. So it is at this time that the advance kind of halted. That it had to take on a whole new form, a deceptive form, a pseudo-peace, where conflicts became a matter of resources and competition, for the purposes of guiding strategy. Divide and conquer. If you can influence your enemy's motivations in going to war with each other, you can just sit back and laugh while they kill each other off. And this was essentially a non-aggression pact that the Catholics were, kind of signed without, consulting most people. But still, this book had truth that was beyond their comprehension and had riddles in it which appealed to them in their self-deception as occultic loopholes and tricks that they could one day capitalize on, and they did. All the while not knowing that in these riddles remained the crucial truths relevant to the salvation of mankind. So anyways, did that answer your question? Bag of cereal. Alright, so before I call it a broadcast here, there's been some interesting developments that you might want to catch up with on MSNBC here. They've given Manafort a 6-day extension. And they've released a Pfizer report detailing the Carter Page wiretaps, surveillance, whatever, which is kind of it's one of the things that I've been warning about for years, especially when it comes to people like Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Chaffetz and Hairlip Boy. These Confederate pseudo-investigations need to be seen as a clear and present danger to the United States, because their aim is not genuine. These people are being completely disingenuous in these false accusations in order to launch false investigations for the purposes of acting as probes, not for the American people, for the GRU, for the Kremlin. And this was shown today because Devin Nunes and the House GOP and all these fucking morons have gone after the FBI for surveilling Carter Page, who said himself that he was a fucking advisor to the Kremlin. Okay? And what they've done, what they've managed to accomplish, is something that people have been trying to do on the left for years. Oh yeah. You see, the FISA document the format of the application, the header, the footer, the spacing, the blocking, the lines, all of it, until now, was completely fucking unavailable. Yeah. It was that well guarded of a secret. Nobody in the media had it. Okay? WarOnWar.org didn't have it. Democracy Now! And all, you know. WikiLeaks? Nope. Russian hackers? Nope. But Devin Nunes and the fucking House Confederates, they not only got, you know, I mean, it'd be one thing if they got just like a form with, you know, and they redacted a whole bunch of crap and just showed like one line of it, kind of kept the whole format and everything and the required fields a secret. Nope. They made them release very minimally redacted documents that show like the entire processing and rationale requirements and procedural bureaucracy behind one of the most crucial components of our national security there is. The ability to surveil foreign fucking agents. Considering that they basically are a bunch of fucking foreign agents. Well played. Well played. Good job. Fuck. But anyways. Ooh, we have a new Rachel Maddow. I don't want to press my luck too much and enable the removal of too many of my broadcasts here. So I'm not going to be playing that 22-minute video right there. But once the broadcast is over, I recommend you go see it. And if you have trouble viewing it, please let me know in the comments of this video, and I will provide a porthole for that to happen on a separate video where I haven't discussed such important intricacies of how to fix reality and whatnot. Because, you know, there's one thing that I don't want to happen, which could very easily happen, is that a long, valuable lecture gets deleted because I played a fucking news clip. Even though there is this little thing called, what's it called? Fair use. Nope. Apparently my commentary isn't critical enough. Oh. It's not important enough for political discourse. YouTube has decided. Bitch please. Okay? That's all I gotta say about that. So, Donald Trump has claimed that he's going to take on the very dictatorial political retribution of revoking the security clearances of former national security officials, of former intelligence officials, because they've pointed out the fact that he's a traitor. And while the actual crux of their case is that their status as having a security clearance gives them credibility. I have a fucking security clearance. It doesn't give me any credibility. You don't understand how security clearances work. But there is a level of perceived credibility that having a security clearance gives you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have access to any information, because those are special clearances, and those are things that have to be regularly reissued, and fucking polygraphs, and like, I don't know. But what they're saying, because that's just to directly, like, oh, so you don't like what they're saying because it's credible, kind of? So what they're saying is that these people are all monetizing their security clearance. So because they're getting paid to speak, paid for what they know, paid to, provide information to people, paid to travel and appear on shows and stuff like that, and a couple of them are, writing books about their experiences and their opinions. Supposedly, it's all just because of their security clearance that they're making that money. Although, according to the guidelines for the revocation of security clearance, they would have to have been revealing some sort of classified information during those activities, which they were not. But what this is amounting to is political retribution. Kitten is being entirely too cute. She's like stretching out across my arm. This is political retribution. Oh, I'm glad y'all couldn't see the dumb look I just had on my face, as my wife just came through here almost butt-ass naked to turn down the AC a little bit. What the fuck was I saying? Ass? No. Great ass. I mean, no. Fine ass. Oh, no.
Love you, Murphy.
Shut up. I love you too. No! She said she was going to put her clothes back on. No! But yeah, security clearances are... like, it's just fodder. Like, it's It's like just something so that in a couple of months Tucker Carlson can say, oh, well, they can't be trusted because they've had their security clearances revoked. And you just know that this whole thing that they're planning, while they're saying they're trying to set up a process, right, to revoke their fucking security clearances, this is going to be some kind of pseudo-intellectual argument that Tucker Carlson's going to put forth on why you can't listen to these people because this special little group of things decided to do this to them. It wasn't just, the president said, you talk bad about me, so I punish you. Which is what it was. But there's another danger in this, because this same little group, this same little commission or whatever he forms to try to get this done, this could probably wind up being used to come after any investigators, any intelligence officials, not just former intelligence officials. And what it'll ultimately do is, that Big Brother Orwellian state that all the Alex Jones videos were trying to warn you about, where the government just keeps everything from its people, and nobody in the government speaks out, and the government just becomes a big fucking conspiracy to sustain itself? That's what this is going to do. It is the exact opposite of whistleblower legislation. And it is in effect the most dangerous violation of free speech that can possibly happen. For people to be publicly reprimanded for speaking out on the behalf of our national security. Wow. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and go now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. I really hope the new girl will chat with us soon, because she's awesome and very spiritually insightful and clear of thought, and I'm very thankful to have her with us, just as I'm thankful to have Pedro and Sean, and who else joined us tonight? Lacey, of course, the lovely Lacey. Her face is just a smile waiting to happen. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And probably see y'all again tomorrow. Don't forget to click the like button. Make sure your subscription is valid. And make sure you go subscribe to Easy Reefers. And give us a like on Facebook at Easy Reefers. Come follow me on Twitter at Easy Reefers. Patreon, Easy Reefers. And y'all have a good night. Have a good day tomorrow. Peace.
here with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, it's the sleeve in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby.